Hey, good morning, everybody. So 3 weeks ago, I released a crystal income utility as a Google Sheet, something that you needed to duplicate and make your own version of. But essentially, its purpose was to figure out your crystal income as a daily source, so that you, as a player, could determine, what you could afford and what you couldn't afford, and how to save for different things. And that utility took into account almost all of the crystals that are reliable within different game modes. So it doesn't take into account things like error battles, because those are not reliable and those are short term. And it does take into account things like expenses, as well as tracking marquee expenses. However, in that time, I've made some really major changes to the sheet itself. Some of them are visual format changes, but others are just new utilities within the Google Sheet to help you as a player make informed choices. So I want to talk about those things today and show you kind of how it works. I'm very excited about it. So let's get into it. Let's check it out. Now, I have made some changes in these 3 weeks and I've released them without doing a video. So some of these things you may already have access to if you noticed my sheet on Reddit, and you may already be playing with them. But some of these changes I actually just finalized yesterday. So it's very likely that you are going to want to grab an updated sheet if these things are applicable to you. The first thing that you're going to notice is that on the main page, I actually pulled the GA summary, the GAC summary out of the daily crystal income. It still takes into account in the GAC totals here, but just so that we didn't get bogged down with a huge amount of cells in daily crystal income, which would end up being very confusing to players. So this GAC summary is just a way for you to look and kind of see what those numbers look like isolated out. We also have a daily crystal income net, weekly crystal net, a monthly net, and if you want to go into the expenses sheet down here and add your current crystal amounts, you can see about how long it will take you to go to zero if your crystal income is negative, right? Kind of cool. Other than that, when we're talking about the crystal income side of that, the fill out income is pretty much exactly the same, except now we are taking into account the Castle Run usage as a free to play player. It's really hard to make use of this as a pay to play player because it's hard to predict exactly how many times you're going to get it per month based on how much your spending is. But we have been assured that if you're a free to play player who is active consistently, you can expect to see Crystal run at least one time per run per month, right? So we have that 200 crystals right here as the minimum. When we go over to our expenses, you might also see that I've expanded this out to add in proving grounds, as well as adding in and taking into account the conquest pass, yes or no, so that players can kind of figure out their proving grounds, their node refreshes, everything else. And the final thing that I had in the original sheet that you guys saw was the marquee spending spot, so that you can just kind of take a look and check out and see exactly if what your goals are in order to get 4 stars, 5 stars, 6 stars, depending on your crystal usage. So this isn't really a pay to play tool, except for the era pass or the episode pass. Beyond that, we've added two very powerful tools. We go up here to the signal data utility, and this will allow you to track up to 10 farms to determine what your signal data need is across those 10 farms, as well as a timetable for farming those things, right? So we see right now, current relic is gear 13. If it's below gear 13, it doesn't actually matter or do anything. I change my desired relic level to relic 3, and we'll see an update here in the signal data need. I can do this for as many farms as I want, up to 10. And down here in the farming timetable, it will take into account and it will track exactly how many days it will take you to farm those things. We can add modifiers here on the left, including container refreshes, to show the crystal costs as well as the changes in the days to farm. And if there is some sort of hoarding event previous to that, we can also take into account an energy hoard. I don't recommend using this unless your hoard is significant, right? So you're not going to say, hey, I started at 144, but you might say, hey, you know what? I just got 2000 energy from something. Let's see how this changes my farming. If you would like to, you can change your corrupted signal data conversion rates, and this will change your farming timetables just a little bit, depending on crystal usage and everything else. But right now, nothing in my signal data need requires corrupted, so we're not going to see that change. And you can include your own signal data stockpiles at the moment to see how that will change your farming timetable. I've included a drop rate indicator down here below. The corrupted signal data drop rate is based off of the whichever one of the converted corrupteds you end up going with. Again, if we look at all of them, the gray is actually the best with the highest drop rate on gray. It just works out better, even though you get more for a blue. So, a super powerful tool for any players trying to farm or figure things out. One note here, though, is that it does not take into account events. It doesn't take into account your assault battles. It doesn't take into account era battles. And there are a couple of reasons why I did that. For now, it may be changed in the future. Just because if you're looking at like a 1 week timetable, it's really hard with the changing calendar that happens to really determine if those numbers will meaningfully affect a timetable. If we're talking about taking 10 characters from gear 13 to gear 10, that will, to relic 10, that will meaningfully change your farming timetable in a pretty consistent way. But if we're talking about a 10-day timetable, it could throw things off. So for now, until I find a better way to do that, I've elected to keep that out. Now, finally, as of yesterday, I've also added a slice a bundle calculator. So this is a way for players to kind of determine if they want to purchase an upcoming slice a bundle, and they can make choices here on the left and on the right. So we see that right now we have it set to shards. I could change that to signal data, and gray signal data. I put in the quantities, right? 10 gray signal data, and we see a value decrease of 9% because our full cost right now is set to only $1. A couple of notes on this utility: it is based on my own farming timetables. You can edit them yourself here in the background math section if you value things just slightly differently. And you'll notice that I actually added color to those tables versus all of the other tables in the background math section. That kind of denotes that, hey, if you change those, nothing else is going to be problematic. If you change anything else here, it'll mess with the entire sheet, right? We see we have a error here because there is a mismatch between the gear category and the item. Check category and item mismatch. I am just going to change that over back to shards, and we'll see that everything is fixed. Now, I know that some slicer bundles have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different things that you can choose from. And I elected not to do that here with the slice of bundle calendar because there is so much background math involved that it would really just bog down the sheet. You really are only purchasing one item from a slice of bundle calendar, so we really only need one for each level. However, I've decided to provide three just so that you can compare and contrast if you're trying to look at what is a better value for you as a player. Another note here is that I took all of these values from my premium value sheet. So these are the sheets that only my members are allowed to see that value all of the packs in the game. But I've also simplified those packs to make things easier based on what a player could reasonably expect to get from a slice of bundle. So no, not all core gear is here, just the core gear that I could reasonably expect that a player may want to see in a slice of bundle. In the future, we may change that. I may add more slots into each of these things. Just note that if you add them yourself, it won't actually work out because there are a lot of helping cells in these sheets that need to be changed as well and tweaked as well in order to get that to work properly. If you want a full accounting of all of my dynamic pricing and values, that is a member exclusive thing with my premium sheets. But this should get most players reasonably started. Once again, you don't like my values, you are welcome to change them for yourself. One situation where I think that that is reasonable and some players may choose to is with Omicrons. I'm still valuing them at 481 as an objective, though I do think that the value is honestly probably somewhere around 300 to 350. It's just that we don't have consistent packs to tell me otherwise. All of these changes that I've made to these sheets, all of the things that I have done here have been based on user feedback. So people have messaged me on Discord. They have told me how they're using their sheets. They have given me suggestions based on things that they want to see. And I have taken those suggestions and I try to tweak this thing like every other day to make it as user friendly as I possibly can. So if you notice something with it, you want to see a change, you want um, something added that I feel is reasonable and will benefit players as a whole, great. Hit me up on Discord, hit me up on Reddit. I love listening to that stuff. It gives me some really super great ideas. And there are some players I know on my Discord who have taken my sheet and said, hey, you know what? I'm actually completely fundamentally going crazy and altering this to my own devices. And it's been cool to see those customizations as well. As a final note here, something that I'm not sure if I talked about last time, we do also have a notes and fixes area where I have kind of documented each of the major changes that I've made to the sheet. So if you save the original as something that you check back in on every 1 week, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, maybe after you finish a major farm, you will be able to see if it is worth it for you, right? To get the next available sheet. You might see, hey, this was last updated 3.6. Perfect. There's a major update. There's the new slice of bundle calendar. This is excellent. I need to get this. And then you see on 3.8 that I've just made some rearranging things and some quick tweaks to things, and none of those things affect you. Great. You don't have to shift over your sheet at all. So I do hope that you find this helpful. I do hope that this is a utility that you as a player can use to make more informed choices in the game. It is something that right now I'm looking at options with different people to turn this into a website, into an app instead of a Google Sheet. Unfortunately, I'm not a coder, and I do have very high and very specific standards. So I am hoping that that is something that will come in the future to alleviate the need to re-add, duplicate, change, alter, whatever in the future. But as a final thing, again, just let me know if you find something that you think would be interesting here. If you notice something that maybe is just slightly off, it will be changed, it will be corrected. Hit me up. We want to make this as user friendly, a free tool to the community as we possibly can. With all of that said, peace out and have a great rest of your day.